us on Overdrive. Up next, we have the second Mahindra electric vehicle, which is the XE90. In this vehicle, Mahindra is offering features, tech and luxury that would be comparable to premium luxury vehicles, but at an affordable price. Let's take a look.
Now, of the two new Mahindra EVs based on the Inglo architecture, the XEV90, as the name suggests and as you can sort of get a feeler from just with the looks, is the one that is more traditionally Mahindra and the one that is a bit more luxury focused. So if you aren't used to electric cars, then this might be the one for you. Now start driving the XEV90 and it's a bit more familiar, the overall driving experience, considering the hardware and the mechanicals are identical between the BE60 and the XEV90. So very broadly, they also drive similarly. So again, this electric powertrain delivers power in a linear, clean fashion. There's not that big, huge lump of torque that's hitting you every time you press down on the accelerator. And like in the BE60, you do find that the performance, it's there right up to over 100 kmph, about 120-ish is fastest that we've gone, and it's fine. I mean, it's still pulling there, so overtakes and all of those maneuvers are not really any issue. Having said that, these are fast cars. They are the fastest cars made by an Indian manufacturer ever. So this one does 0 to 100 in about 6.8 seconds. So yeah, you do have that sense that you are faster than most other things on the road, which does create a good sense of luxury. The more upright shape and greater weight make the XEV90 less efficient, but there is still a good 656 kilometers of range as per the ARAI cycle. So you can expect between 390 to 430 kilometers in the real world. In terms of the ride again, you do notice that with these large wheels there is a slight bit of firmness, and that inherent firmness that you have with EVs. In the brief time that I've spent driving these two cars, this does seem to be tuned a bit softer, a bit more focused on comfort, very marginally. And you do notice that over a broken patch of road, while you do feel it, you do notice the sharp edges, there is a bit more travel in the suspension, I feel, which does give you a better sense of comfort. And then you also have the regen mode. Now I'm driving it in this auto regen mode, and the idea seems to be to manage regen and power compared to your surroundings. So if there's a car in front of you, it's supposed to ramp up the regen and then free it up when there isn't anything. It is fine, but I do notice that the regen, it goes into regen a bit more sharply than in the other modes. So if it were for me, I would just stick to a regular regen mode, and that would just make the drivetrain a bit more predictable too. Same goes with the braking. Now in this auto mode, it's not quite as seamless, but we would have liked, like I said with the BE60, a bit more feel from the brake pedals. That being said, the cohesion between the friction brakes and the regen is well sorted. So the changeover isn't very abrupt or very sharp. So if you are getting used to driving EVs, it's not that much of an issue. The XEV90 is less outrageous in its looks than the BE6e, but you still find that it does stand out. Yes, it's not quite as taut as the B6e, but you do have a more imposing look with the prominent lighting and the big fascia. The bodywork has a softer edge to the angles, but the long fastback look means that Mahindra has used its nearly 4.8 meter long length well. Now with the XEV90, you also get a bigger frunk, 150 liters, and I must say this is a pretty sizable space. You have a sub frunk underneath it, which is pretty decent. So yeah, you can put more than just charging cables here for once, and it does do its job. The rear has a long rear roof, although visibility from inside is still somewhat compromised by the rear headrest, but the soft sculpting and rounded edges to the bootlet do manage the mass well. You also have less complex detailing around the bumpers, going with the more grown-up theme. You have, again, quite a large boot, and I must say that this less aggressive coupe shape has helped on the inside as well. So yeah, while the lip is still really quite high, I think. With the XEV90, the 207mm of ground clearance doesn't change, and nor do the fun bits like the equalizer themed light show, a feature that lets you monitor the car surroundings like Tesla's Sentry mode, UV cut glass all around, and NFC entry. As soon as you get inside the XEV90, now this can't be ignored, this massive widescreen display. Now this whole stack, so to speak, is 43 inches across, and you effectively have three 10.25 inch screens within them. Now This one is specifically for the passenger, and I must say that I can still see it as a driver, so sometimes it can be slightly distracting on the move. It's not completely polarized like how some other cars, some luxury cars have it. But what you do get here is a smattering of functions. You have all those apps. For example, you have your YouTube, even your social apps like Instagram. You can also get your work done and so on. So all of that, music apps, all of that just goes in here. And you can also play your own media, and there's also a browser. So if you want to just go on the internet, you can do that. So mainly it's for the passenger to sort of spend his time. You have that head-up display. It's not the regular one that we've seen with the screen in front. It has actual projection on the windscreen, and it does give you information on ADAS and also on navigation. And then of course you have that 16-speaker Harman Kardon audio system. And yeah, so you can see the speakers right here, so that's something new. The XEV90 is packed to the brim with features, many of which you've not seen in this segment before. Here's what you get. Safety too has taken some big strides forward. There's a new self-park feature that you can use from outside the car, a more advanced ADAS system with better obstacle detection, 7 airbags including a knee airbag, and an interior camera to monitor attention levels. Now while the B6E and the XEV90 both share the same 2.77mm wheelbase, you do realize that Mahindra has been able to carve out a bit more space in here. Of course, there are a lot of other things, but the space itself also seems to be a bit more, at least the impression of it is that. Now you notice that with the seat, it's sort of pushed back a little bit, you have slightly more laid back position to it. And these seats are placed a bit higher, I feel, so I have more space under my feet to put my leg in. Leg room or knee room is again slightly more generous, I feel, than the other one. To round things off, you have this really large sunroof. The pattern here is slightly different, but again it has those ambient light etchings on it. And I also must say that with the shape of this car, this slightly more upright, less aggressive shape, there is a bit more headroom. The Mahindra XEV90 starts at Rs 21.90 lakhs, but we don't have prices for the top spec 79 kWh version we drove. We think this will touch close to 40 lakhs, but it must be said that the rear seat experience as well as the tech and features inside give it a sense of value. It has a mature, composed feel from the drivetrain, but we would have liked a better balance between ride and handling. There also could have been a bit more differentiation on the inside in terms of some of the details than regular Mahindra products. But as far as a comfortable EV SUV goes, this makes a good deal of sense.
Honestly speaking, I do believe that Mahindra has kicked up the EV game a notch higher in the Indian market, and competition does need to sharpen up pretty soon. On the other side of this break, we tell you all about Honda's very first electric scooter offering.